Tiziano Figelli, known in English as Titian, was an Italian Renaissance artist who was born in Pieve di Cadore. He was an important member of the Venetian School of Art and one of the most respected artists during his time, despite being somewhat ahead of the style of the day. The Danae by Titian is a hugely important painting in historical context, as it really solidified Venice as the superpower in art at the time. This piece is also just a beautiful illustration of the story of love. Art like the Danae show how our past history valued nudity and saw it as a show of strength and purity. It also helped empower other younger artists as they studied their works and were so influenced by this that a few did their own versions of the scene. Without artworks like this, we could lose the culture that we build our feelings and morals around. Without the Danae being saved during World War II as well, we would have lost yet another piece of the culture in Europe made during a time of Renaissance and Enlightenment. With works such as Raphael's Portrait of a Young Man and Rembrandt's An Angel with Titus's Features already lost, it becomes even more important that we protect Titian's works. During the course of Titian's life, some of his aspects changed artistically, such as his brushwork and the colorful nature of his paintings. As he matured, his brushwork became less rigid and took more of a loose feel. His colorways also changed, as he was still considered a master of colors, but he used them differently as he aged. In his later works, he often used softer, subtler tones in his paintings, unlike his earlier work, which had often had more vibrant and glowing colors. The work of the Danae was some of Titian's most famous works. Titian actually did 3 different versions of the Danae solely by himself, all completed between 1540 and 1570. Each painting portrays the young woman Danae lying nude on a bed as Zeus is coming to impregnate her. In Greek mythology, Danae was the daughter of Acrisius, the king of Argos. King Acrisius was saddened by the fact that his daughter had yet to give him a son. When Acrisius consulted the oracle on how he could get male children, however, he was told that his daughter would bear a son who would grow to kill him. Acrisius, frightened by these words, then went and locked up his daughter in a tower made of bronze, guarding her from all males and seemingly shutting out the possibility of her getting pregnant. But Zeus, the Greek god of the sky and thunder, having heard of Danae's beauty, visited her in her chamber in the form of golden rain. Danae then allowed herself to become impregnated by Zeus and conceive a baby boy, despite knowing what the consequences of her actions might be. Acrisius found out about his daughter's son and became filled with rage. He then threw both of them in a chest and cast it away to sea. The chest washed up on the island of Seriphos and was found by a fisherman who took care of Danae and her son Perseus. Perseus would grow up to become a hero of Greek mythology, slaying Medusa and rescuing the daughter of Ethiopian king Cephas, Andromeda. Many years later, Acrisius moved to the city of Larissa and attended some funeral games in which his grandson participated. During the games, a bad throw of the discus by Perseus resulted in hitting Acrisius on the head, causing his grandfather's instant death and thus fulfilling the prophecy of the oracle. The 3 most common paintings shown of the Danae are relatively similar to each other, except for the background sky and the secondary characters shown in them. Titian completed his first version of the Danae in 1546 after beginning the piece in 1544. In his first edition of the Danae, he paints Danae lying nude on the bed with a warm glow to her skin. To the far right of the painting, on the edge of the bed, can be seen Eros. Eros, the god of sexual desire and attraction, is shown by a baby cherub. The golden raindrops sent by Zeus roll in as a very faint mist but quickly form thick at the top of the canvas. Danae can be seen staring at these raindrops, seemingly indifferent. Eros, however, looks somewhat troubled at the sight of the golden raindrops. The background sky in this piece is actually baby blue and appears very tranquil compared to what's taking place in the room. His second version of the Danae was started in 1551 and completed in 1553. This time he paints a much different picture. The scene is much more zoomed out and more of the background can be seen. The background is distinctly darker than that of the first version, creating an ominous feel to the piece. Mountains and hills also appear in the far back, along with darker clouds to set up Zeus's entrance. Also, no part of the tower is present in this edition, as instead more room is made for the sky. The brushstrokes for the clouds have become more defined, with this version setting up a small window for Zeus's face to look upon Danae. Danae, less covered this time, now appears to be staring into the face of Zeus. She looks to be mesmerized or even transfixed by the golden rain brought in by Zeus. An entirely new character has also entered the picture in this version, as an old nursemaid replaces the god Eros. The nursemaid doesn't appear as worried about the presence of Zeus. In fact, she is seen collecting the golden raindrops in her skirt. This version of the painting also features much darker hues, showing the difference in Titian's style as he matured and also giving the painting a grim feeling. In his third and final sole piece of the Danae, stark contrasts of rich colors grip the viewer's attention. The blue skies in the background have been replaced by seemingly troublesome weather. The brushstrokes cause the clouds to look as if they roll onto the very room Danae has been forced to stay in. The structure of the tower has now also returned in the very right corner of the piece, as stone can be seen lined up against the edge. In the golden shower, Zeus's face can no longer be seen, but now a faint self-portrait of Titian's own face can be seen right in the middle of the clouds. Danae, whose skin has taken on a much lighter tone, now has a tiny dog below her right hand on the bed. She also has no coverage on any part of her body at this point, and her face seems much more subdued, staring directly at Titian's in the clouds. The other elements of this piece, including the golden raindrops and the nursemaid, also appear much darker shades and in much darker tones, only adding to the contrast of the piece. This version was completed in 1562 and is the largest of all the Danaes painted by Titian. Titian started this series of paintings when commissioned by Cardinal Alessandro Farnese, grandson of Pope Paul III. Wealthy and worldly, Farnese was considered a distinguished patron of the arts who also loved courting his fair share of women. He made sure that Titian made Danae as a goddess and implored that he paint her nude in the portraits. Farnese wanted to transform Danae from just a regular woman into a mythological goddess for him to look at. Philip II of Spain commissioned the second Danae piece by Titian. He commissioned many works by Titian, loving the mythological aspects of his work. The Danae paintings were highly influential, even during their times of creation, and affected the work of many artists, including Rembrandt, Anthony van Dyck, and Gustav Klimt, who all painted similar versions of the scene. According to 16th century Italian historian Giorgio Vasari, Michelangelo saw the original and praised Titian's use of color in the portrait, although he would later go back on these statements and slightly criticize Titian's work. The original Danae was part of the Farnese collection, assembled between the 16th and 18th century, eventually becoming the Capodimonte Museum in Naples. This is where the painting resided until the mid-1940s. The Danae was looted by German troops on behalf of Field Marshal Hermann Göring of the Second World War. It was later discovered by monuments men in 1945 in an Austrian salt mine at Alt-Autuis. The canvas was brought to the Munich Central Collecting Point by the monuments men and returned to the Italian government 2 years later. The first painting now sits in Naples' Capodimonte Museum yet again, where it has been since 1945. While not much is known about the other two pieces during World War II, the second Danae is now in the Heritage Museum of St. Petersburg, Russia. The third installment currently resides in the Museo del Prado of Madrid in Spain. Titian continued to paint until his death on October 27, 1576, in Venice. He reportedly died of the plague, the same illness that had claimed the life of his son, Orazio, a few months later. His other son, Pomponio, sold his father's house and its contents in 1581. While at first I saw this as maybe a slap in the face to his father, I also recognize that Pomponio would rather it be in the hands of someone who cared about the art more than to have it sit there in the house and rot, which is really what art is about, sharing and allowing other people to feel the way you do about art or something that you care about, and not just keeping it all for yourself, but sharing its wealth and love.